Now, Zelensky must have known as soon as he arrived in the Oval Office that he was being ambushed.
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now?
Russian state media was there, and major agencies like Reuters and the Associated Press were not invited. He must have known that he was about to be hung out to dry, and so he did his best to keep his cool, despite having every right to stand up and walk out, or to stand up and lamp Trump, or to stand up and karate kick J.D. Vance in the gonads, but he didn't. He remained calm, he tried to maintain pose, he tried to hide his anger, and for the sake of his country and his people, he played along until it was clear that this press conference was a setup. Even that sequence with Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, Brian Glenn, asking Zelensky on behalf of Real America's Voice why he wasn't wearing a suit was clearly planned. And Zelensky gave back as good as he got and said that he would wear a costume when the war was over, and maybe a better suit than Mr. Glenn was wearing. But those in the know, and those who care to know, have learned that Zelensky has refused to wear civilian dress until the war is over. And anyway, did you see what Brian Glenn was wearing? And meanwhile, Trump is sitting there in an ill-fitting suit and a comb-over and a face full of orange makeup. But sure, Zelensky's shirt is the problem. A day earlier, Trump welcomed the British Prime Minister and asked him if the UK could take on Russia on its own. Everybody in the Oval Office laughed because they thought he must be joking, but he wasn't joking. He genuinely didn't know.
Could you take on Russia by yourselves?
Well,
all right, one or two more.
He doesn't know anything. He doesn't read. He doesn't look at security briefings. The narcissist in chief believes in his instinct and his instinct alone. The media did not pick up on this moment, but to me it was very telling. Trump is on the back foot. He has to pretend to be tough and get angry over lack of gratitude because he has no plan, because Putin isn't communicating. Trump is a terrible deal maker. Even his casinos went bankrupt. He didn't even get Zelensky to sign the mineral wealth deal before he ambushed him on camera and threw him out the White House. But let's go back to why. How did the pre-event planning go down? Two bullies planning the attack, Trump and Vance. Trump with no idea because he's literally an imbecile, and Vance getting his directives from the oligarchs who installed him. Peter Thiel's fingerprints are all over this. There's plenty of evidence of his worldview. The Broligarchs genuinely want to destroy the North Atlantic Treaty and bring down the European Union and run the world on their own terms. Thiel is a self-described conservative libertarian. Since the late 2010s, he's espoused support for national conservatism and criticized economically liberal attitudes towards free trade. Much of his views are shared by his former PayPal business partner Elon Musk. And some of their views are shared by Leonard Leo, who infiltrated the Supreme Court to place MAGA operatives on there to protect Donald Trump. And then there's Kevin Roberts, the architect of Project 2025. These people are responsible for the rightward shift in America and across the world. They share a far-right nationalist approach. They use their wealth, their influence, and their tech to make it happen. And several countries are falling foul of this ideology. But how do we describe this movement, and is it new? Well, there are several ways to describe what we are seeing happen right now, including the rise of authoritarianism, segregationist or isolationist policies, often described as America First. In April 2016, Trump first used the phrase America First during a campaign speech, declaring it would be the major and overriding theme of my administration. The following year, in his inaugural address, he reiterated this message, stating, "A new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first." Since then, he's frequently invoked the slogan to describe his stance on both foreign and domestic policy. And remember, he doesn't write his own speeches. Now, this framing is notable because over the past century, America First has become associated with deeply troubling connotations. Although the phrase has roots in American history, it took on racist, anti-Semitic, and xenophobic undertones after World War I. During the 1920s, the Ku Klux Klan, whose membership swelled to approximately 5 million, used the slogan to rally support for its campaign of terror. Nativist groups also adopted America First, using it alongside racist and eugenicist rhetoric to push for restrictive U.S. immigration policies. Media mogul William Randolph Hearst further amplified the slogan, using his newspaper empire to stir nationalist sentiment and oppose US involvement in the League of Nations. Later, he became a vocal supporter of rising fascist movements, reinforcing the phrase's association with extremist ideologies. Recently, we've seen Nazi salutes at public events from Elon Musk and Steve Bannon and Laura Ingraham of Fox News. In 2016, video emerged of far-right activists celebrating Donald Trump's victory with Nazi salutes at a conference in Washington of the alt-right, a radical group that has dramatically risen in prominence in the last few years. Also in 2016, French National Front leader Marine Le Pen said Donald Trump's victory in the US election was an additional stone in the building of a new world. But what is that new world? Or new order? Or New World Order? Well, it's commonly known as the conspiracy of a small group of powerful individuals working in secret to establish all-powerful control. That's the definition anyway. And yeah, it sounds crazy. But all the evidence suggests that it's coming true. Not just the Nazi salutes, but if you listen to these individuals who tend to spill the beans on far-right podcasts over the years, and they don't think anyone's listening, but we are listening, you begin to build up a picture of what their plan is. Money, power, and white supremacy. They want to deconstruct the administrative state in the USA, starting with USAID. Check. They want to deconstruct the transatlantic alliance. Check. And they want to deconstruct the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, otherwise known as NATO. Check. J.D. Vance was never expected to wield significant influence as vice president. However, his central role in Friday's heated exchange between Trump and Zelensky, where he blended the aggression of a political enforcer with the manipulative cunning of a corporate strategist, could signal a major fracture in the long-standing alliance between the United States and Europe. During the meeting with Zelensky, it was Vance who struck first, provoking the Ukrainian president by accusing him of conducting propaganda tours to highlight the devastation caused by Russia's invasion. He said, "I think it's disrespectful to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media." Vance's tone becoming sharper. "You bring people on a propaganda tour, Mr. President? Do you think it's respectful to come to the Oval Office and criticize the administration working to prevent your country's destruction?" This was not Vance's first major foreign policy intervention. Earlier in the month, during the Munich Security Conference, he made waves by criticizing European leaders. Expressing a strong Eurosceptic stance, he told them, "If you're afraid of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you." He was encouraging European nations to be more accepting of far-right political parties. His remarks stunned many people, including Kaja Kallas, the European Union's chief diplomat, who said they seem eager to provoke conflict with us, while we seek to maintain our friendship. On Friday, though, Vance found the conflict he seemed to be seeking. Behind the scenes, he's reportedly assembling a foreign policy team that questions the strategic importance of supporting Kiev. America is going to walk away from Ukraine, leaving Europe to fend for itself and in turn making the EU an enemy of the United States. It's all part of the plan. As Vance continues to shape US foreign policy, getting his orders directly from Peter Thiel and arguably Vladimir Putin, his combative stance towards European allies and Ukraine suggests he has successfully manipulated Donald Trump towards a significant shift in America's global position, one that will reshape international relations for years to come. And let's not forget Trump's own appointed White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and United States Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller, a far-right white supremacist and proponent of this New World Order concept. And his wife, Katie Miller, is a special government employee who functions as the top communications officer at Doge. Doge, of course, run by Elon Musk with his back channels to Russia and his support of Vladimir Putin. Stephen Miller was a senior advisor in Trump's first term and an architect of the administration's anti-immigration platform, including advocating for the policy of separating migrant children from their families. I want to reiterate the point that Donald Trump himself doesn't have much to do with any of this. Trump needed to win the election to stay out of prison. With multiple prosecutions, indictments, legal cases pending, so much was hanging on his ability to win the election as a populist, which in turn would give these new world order broligarchs their opportunity to infiltrate the White House and the federal government. Trump just wants to play golf and take all the glory. He has no strategy other than presidential immunity. They needed him to get access to the purse strings. He needed their deep pockets to guarantee the election for him. Remember, I don't need your votes, we got plenty of votes? Trump had been assured that the disinformation campaign, the voter suppression in swing states, and Elon Musk's marketing push was a guaranteed win. And it was. They only needed a couple of percentage points to push Trump over the line. Musk had Twitter to drive the narrative. He had control of the election algorithm. So how does Russia come into all of this? Well, Trump still owed Putin a debt of gratitude for helping him win the 2016 election, and Trump looks up to dictators. They're his role models. He needs to feel worshipped and feared and in control to feel complete, because he's a malignant narcissist. He's deeply unwell. He'd sell out the entire country for personal loyalty and power. And that's what's happening.
Russia, Russia, Russia. You ever hear of that deal?
Putin wants control of shipping lanes. He wants Greenland. He wants Panama. The oligarchs want Canada and control of the Northern Hemisphere. Climate change is heating the South. They know the Southern Hemisphere will eventually be uninhabitable. In November 2023, Brazil recorded its hottest temperature ever at 112.6 Fahrenheit. The Southern Ocean has absorbed 75% of the excess heat created by humans and 40% of the carbon dioxide. There's going to be massive climate migration and extreme poverty. Trump let slip during the Zelensky meeting that he and Putin went through a hell of a lot together during the Russia investigation. He's so dumb, he always says the quiet parts out loud.
Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton.
So the new order is Putin, Musk, Thiel, J.D. Vance, along with the major tech billionaires taking control of the Americas against Europe. They've been planning this for decades. It seems far-fetched, but it's actually happening right now. This is why Trump wants Canada to be the 51st state. This is why Pete Hegseth is threatening Mexico with military action. This is why they fired the Joint Chiefs of Staff and replaced him with an unsuitable MAGA loyalist, because they are preparing for war. None of what we are experiencing is by accident. It's strategic, it's tyrannical, it's inevitable. Trump has been a vessel for this movement since the 1980s, a useful idiot, an insecure American racist given credence as a businessman with a reality TV show, the perfect foil for Putin and his long game to make America Russian again.
And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with MeidasTouch.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.